No one voted for this. There was no announcement, no emergency meeting on television. But one day, money quietly stopped being just money. It stopped being a tool for trade and became a tool of power. If that sounds dramatic, it should. Because everything you think you know about money, savings, salaries, prices, debt, changed in that moment. And most people never noticed. What makes this matter right now is simple. We are living with the consequences every single day. Rising prices, endless debt, markets that panic over words, not facts, governments that seem powerful until money says otherwise. This story isn't about greed. It's not about corruption. It's about incentives. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Let's start at a time when money was boring. For most of history, money was heavy. Gold, silver, coins you could bite, weigh, and hide. If a government wanted more money, it had to find more metal, dig it out of the ground, steal it, conquer for it. That physical limit mattered. It restrained power. Kings could tax, they could borrow, but they couldn't create money out of thin air. Wars were expensive, mistakes were costly, and bad decisions showed up fast. Money wasn't neutral, but it wasn't elastic either. That began to change quietly in the 20th century. Wars got bigger, economies got larger, and governments discovered a problem. Gold was slowing them down. During World War I, countries printed paper money far beyond their gold reserves. They promised to fix it later. They didn't. After World War II, the world tried again, the Bretton Woods system. The US dollar became the center of global money. Other currencies were tied to the dollar. The dollar was tied to gold. It sounded stable. It looked responsible. But it depended on one assumption, that the United States would always behave. By the late 1960s, it wasn't. The US was fighting a war in Vietnam, funding massive social programs at home, running persistent deficits. Foreign governments noticed something odd. There were more dollars in the world than gold in US vaults. France called the bluff. They started demanding gold instead of dollars. Others followed. The system was cracking. Then, in August 1971, something extraordinary happened. On a Sunday night, President Richard Nixon went on television. No debate, no vote, no warning. He announced that the United States would no longer convert dollars into gold. Temporary, he said. It never was. That was the moment. Money was cut loose from reality. From that point on, money wasn't anchored to anything physical. Not gold, not silver, not productivity. It was anchored to trust, and trust is political. That single decision changed how power works. Because once money is unlimited, the question is no longer how much do we have. The question becomes who gets access first. This is where the story stops being abstract. When new money is created, it doesn't fall evenly from the sky. It enters the system at specific points. Governments, central banks, large financial institutions, they spend it first. By the time it reaches everyone else, prices have already moved. This is not a theory, it's arithmetic. If you receive money before prices rise, you benefit. If you receive it after, you lose purchasing power. That gap is where power lives. This is why inflation doesn't feel equal, why asset owners get richer while wages lag, why debt becomes easier for governments and harder for households. Money creation quietly reshuffles society, not by vote, not by law, but by sequence. This is the uncomfortable math, and it explains something people find confusing. Why do markets celebrate bad news? Because bad news often means more money. Recessions trigger stimulus, crises unlock emergency lending, instability becomes justification. The system rewards fragility. Publicly, we talk about stability. Behind the scenes, volatility keeps the machine running. Central banks were supposed to be neutral referees, independent, technical. But neutrality doesn't exist when control over money exists. Interest rates decide who survives, who borrows, who fails. Lower rates inflate asset prices, higher rates crush debtors. There is no setting that helps